Okay, to make this head wrap, we will need some kind of stretchy material. This stretches both ways, and it has a pretty good stretch to it. I'm going to, and you also want something that has a raw edge that's not going to fray. So this is perfect for that. It won't fray because these edges are going to be left exposed. And the best way to measure or know what size you want to use would be to measure the baby's head. So the measurement I'm using is for a friend, her granddaughter. She measured the baby's head at 7.5 on one side. So that would be 15 inches total. So I'm going to do 15 inches, but minus an inch because we have a lot of stretch here. So I'm going to even up my fabric here. Okay. And I'm going to cut this 14 by 5. So I have my ruler here, and I have just about 14 inches this way. So I'm going to roll with it, and then I'm going to cut it by 5. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is roll this up like this, and I'm going to pin these edges together. And what I'm going to do is take it to the sewing machine, and I'm just overlapping it but by maybe 1/4 inch. So once you have that the way you want it, 1/4 inch, I'm going to sew from here down to here, sew this closed right here. Okay, so I did backstitch at the beginning and the end, and as you're doing this, as you're sewing, you want to make sure that as you're feeding this through your machine, you're not getting this stuck underneath there. So just be very careful and mindful of that. Okay, so now we're going to make our bow. I'm going to use a 5 by 5 piece. I'm just going to cut this out like this. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is fold this, and I'm going to sew from here to here, and I'm going to leave a little 1-inch opening. So I'm going to sew from here to here, and then from here to here, and leave this open. Okay, so you can see I sewed from here to here, then from here to here. I did backstitch on the ends, and now what we want to do is take this and line it up like this so that this seam is in the middle. If you want to press it, you can press it, but now at this point what we want to do is sew these ends closed, but you want your seam to be in the middle. So I'm going to work on that. Okay, so we have both ends sewn, and when you do sew this, you know, like 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch seam allowance is just fine. So now I'm going to take this little hole we left open, I'm going to turn it inside out. We want to make sure we push those corners out. Just like that. And there is the start of our bow. Okay. Now, you can sew this together if you want, but I think it'll be just fine if you leave it open, as long as you did backstitch between here and there. Now what I'm going to do is take this, and I'm going to sew this just like 1 inch from like here to here. Just 1 inch. And I'm placing it right in the middle where we sewed this down. So we're going to lay that on top there like that. And I'm going to sew right on top this seam. But I'm only sewing like 1 inch right here. Okay? Okay, so this is what we should have. Alright. And we're going to clip our thread. And we're going to clip this one. Alright, so now we need another piece to wrap around the center there. I had a couple pieces laying here. So, okay, so we have another piece that I cut, and it's 2 inches by 5 inches. And what I'm going to do is take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew right sides together along the long edge. Okay, so you can see I sewed that together, and I did backstitch at the beginning and the end, and we made a little tube. So now I'm going to turn that tube right side out. This is the way I like to sew these hair bands. I know there are no-sew methods. I just like doing the sewing method. I don't know why. To me, this is, I just like using the machine. So now we want to place this so that that seam is in the middle, just like that. So now we're going to take this piece here and we're going to scrunch it up just like that. Okay, and then we're going to lay this with the seam out. And we're going to squeeze that around there as tight as we can. And we're going to sew this together. Okay, so now I sewed this on, and I sewed as close to the band, the hair wrap, as I could. So you can see my stitching right here. And I'm going to now trim this off. And now we want to take this band we just sewed, and we're going to turn it right side out. Alright, so we're just going to adjust it as we need to. But I think it is so adorable. I love doing the sewing method. I have the machine. I just like using it. But the best way to get your measurement would be to measure the child's head. It's kind of hard to guesstimate sizes, but there you go. I think it's adorable. I really like it. And they could use it, the wrap open all the way, or you can kind of fold that in a little around the edges. And you can wear it as like a skinny headband, like that. Now another thing that you can do is you can put 2 bows on here. So I have done that before, where I have a bigger bow and a smaller bow. So there would be a bigger bow underneath here and then the smaller one on top. Alright, that's that one. I wish I had a model for you to see how it looks on, but there you go. Okay, so I went ahead and made another one. And this one I did do 2 bows. So I made this the same size as the last one. It was 5 by 5. And I sewed it the same way. This one was 6.5 by 5.5. And I sewed it the same way. Alright. Now to put this on our headband, again, we want to center these right on top of this seam. And if you need to use something for measuring purposes for your center, you can do that. I have a great ruler. Let me grab it. Okay, so this ruler, you can see, has a 0 in the center. So all I need to do is line this up, find the measurements that are the same on each side, and the 0 would be my center, and then that's where I'm going to put my stitch. And then you want to make sure the edge of the bow is in the correct place. So it's 3 inch on this side, 3 inch on this side, and you want to make sure the top bow is in the right place. Looks like I can maybe move it over just a tad so that it's centered on the wrap. Okay, so I'm pretty confident this will look good. And again, I'm just going to sew a little stitch right here, maybe like 3/4 of an inch, right on top of this seam. But you're only sewing on this piece. You're not going to sew through to this piece, just right on top here. So let me do that. Okay, so I did go ahead and sew both these on. And I'm going to just make sure my threads are trimmed. And again, we're going to need another piece to wrap around that center. It's going to be 2 inches by, I'm just going to use up this piece here. I'm going to cut that off. Now these measurements don't really necessarily have to be completely exact, as long as you get a piece wrapped around that center. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this like I did the last one, and then we're going to finish up this one. Alright, so I did sew this, and I'm going to turn it right side out. And we're going to put the seam in the middle, like that. And then I'm going to take this, and we're going to scrunch it up the same way we did the last one. Like that. And then to wrap this around here with the seam up, like that. And we're going to sew it around that top. And we're going to sew right along here, as close to the back as we can. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm again going to trim this off. Make sure you pick up any of your loose threads and clip them. We're going to trim this. And we're going to turn this right side out. Alright, there we go. So just adjust it as you need to, and there you go. If this needs adjusted, adjust it, center it. So we have two on this one. I think it's pretty cute. Alright, so there are those two. And I'm going to do another one. This one's going to be a little bit different. Alright guys, so here I have this blue one I made. And this is like a jersey material. So it's pretty stretchy. And I made it the same way we did the yellow ones. I made a stitch down the center here. I cut out 6 of these 5x5 pieces that I'm going to put on top here. So you basically just scrunched them up like this. There we go. And I'm only using 6 because this is pretty thick material here. And that's what it looks like when it's... I'm gonna fluff this up. That's what we have, like that. So you can do it like that, and then lay them on top and scrunch it up with this, like that. And then we would make another loop like this to put around here, like that. Or I think it would look just as nice if we just laid them all out, one on top of the other, like that. And we could lay them on top like this and just scrunch it like that. And then you can just pull these up like this and just kind of stretch them. So you could do it like this also if you wanted. Just tug on these until you have it where you want it. can do it like that also. I think that looks just as cute if you did it like that. Just kind of play with it until you have it the way you like it. But I think I am going to do it this way. Like that. There we go. And now we will need a piece to wrap around the center. And I'm going to cut this pretty much the same way I did the last one. Do 2 inches, and then I'm going to sew this right sides together. Turn it right side out. Okay, so again I'm going to put the seam on the back, or roll it to the back. Okay, just like that. And now I'm going to take my wrap, place that in the center, and just scrunch the wrap around the side there, like that. We can fluff these up when we're done, however we want these. And then again, I'm going to sew this with the seam on the top around to the back. And we're going to sew this down the same way we did the yellow ones. Okay, so I made it pretty much the same way I did these, but in this case I just used like 6 pieces of just 5x5 piece of fabric, scrunched it all up together, and stuck it in the center of this bow, or this wrap, and just kind of play with it until you have it looking the way you want it to look. But there you go. There's that one and this one, and I think they turned out very, very cute. And we have this one. So there you go, guys. That's how I like to do my bows with a sewing machine. So if you have any questions, or if I didn't explain anything clear enough, please let me know. Be very glad to help out. And I hope you enjoy the video. And please like and subscribe if you haven't yet.